Oh, community.
Community.
Community is...
What's it mean to have community?
I don't even know. Community is such a hard word now.
It needs to be a place where people don't have to wear a mask, don't have to pretend. There's a place where you experience life with one another and know you're accessible.
Man, it is hard to define, isn't it?
We need community.
If you're not known, you cannot be loved.
But we're definitely coming at this from different places.
Well, welcome to the Grounded Presence Podcast, where we're pursuing a deeply rooted existence. I'm your host, Daniel Powell, and we're right in the middle of Season 2, which is carrying the title Craving Community. And it's a hard world out there right now. It's a hard world to stay grounded in, and it's a hard world to find community in. It's a hard world to build community in with all the social distancing and just abnormal times. You know, and there's so much collective confusion right now. Confusion, distrust, grief, just collective trauma in the air. And the shouting. There's so much shouting between the extremes of the left and the right. And I gotta admit something to you. I gotta admit something kind of uncomfortable. And that's that I really hate all this political shouting. And that makes me uncomfortable because it opens me up to the scrutiny that, oh, well, Daniel, he's not convicted enough. Or that Daniel, he's not woke enough to raise a ruckus. Or even just on a simple person-to-person level, you know, that somebody else's cause isn't important to me. You know, and none of those are the case. I just really hate all this shouting into the void. I'd much rather have a constructive, generative, and healing conversation. We're all human. We got to start acting like it. And all this shouting at one another and shouting at groups, it's so dehumanizing. And I know it comes from a very real place of deep pain and from a place of feeling dehumanized. But I'm just so tired of engaging in this myth that eradicating the opposing side will solve all of our societal problems. Because it won't. And we all know it won't. But we want to engage. We want to believe that if the other side was gone, then things would be better. And I know this game well personally because I've done it from both sides. You know, growing up, it was the story of, well, if everybody could just be more Christian and be more conservative, that would solve all our problems. You know, and as I've grown up, I've dropped that mindset, and it's become one more of rebellion. You know, those damn conservatives, they're holding us back. But you know, it's not the left wing or the right wing that's the problem at all. The problem is scapegoating, and it's either side hanging all our negative judgments about society on whoever we consider to be, you know, the other, the outgroup. It's so divisive. And when you blame something on somebody else, it robs you of all your cognitive power for self-critique. And we always blame other people for our problems. It's just human tendency. There's very few of us that can actually admit we do it. I think we can all admit that we do it, but there's very few of us that can admit we are doing it when we are doing it. Because when we're doing it, we're justified. We are right this time, you know. Oh, not that time before, but this time I am right. And there's not a person out there that likes being at fault, that actually enjoys it. You know, I mean, I can think of many times in the past when I've unknowingly screwed something up at a job that I've been working at, and then someone finally calls it to my attention. You know, they're like, "Hey, Daniel, come here. Let me show you this." So they pointed out, "What's this about?" You know, it's always the first thought that I have when it's called out is like, okay, this is uncomfortable, you know, and then where does my mind go immediately? It's like, okay, whose fault was it up the line from me that made all this extra work for me or gave me bad materials or, you know, didn't do their job properly and it didn't allow me to do my job properly? You know, I can always find a reason or a justification of why I didn't do my job to the level that I needed to, and why that's somebody else's fault. You know, even if it is really something completely out of my control, like not being aware of a particular expectation. It just always hurts. It always hurts to be wrong. And it's not an experience that we lean into. But that's human nature, And it's really painful to watch, our president, the most powerful man in the world, magnify this behavior so dramatically and so publicly. I really don't care what your opinions of his policies are or what your political opinions are, but I think that we all can acknowledge that this man does not know how to take ownership in a crisis or period, unless it's praise. He'll own that praise. He'll make it. Anyway, enough about that. But he always seems to be on the defensive and seems to have this dire need to avoid critique and taking responsibility, at all costs. And it just makes me sick to my stomach. Now it's not because the man himself makes me sick to my stomach. No. It's because I know I do the exact same bullshit. And I'm like, man, I know on the days that I'm most defensive, I'm taking the least ownership because mistakes have been called out. I know those are the days when I'm least focused on my work because it's all about me. And my attitude toward the company, is why they got to be yelling at me and calling me out when I didn't even do anything wrong. I know how that goes. I've been that guy. And that's the guy I see on the public platform. And being that guy, knowing that guy in myself, that's not a guy I want running the country. I don't want me on my worst defensive day, running the country. Gosh, it's hard to watch the blame shifting and the avoidance. It's not a sexy character trait. And I know it's not easy to take responsibility for problems, especially ones that weren't a direct result of your own actions. And as I've already hinted at, it's not something that I do particularly well. But I've been in the presence of people that have done it well. One of my recent employers, in fact, just really impressed the hell out of me. There was this project manager, he would occasionally have a hard day, and he would end up going off on me about just, some little thing that, maybe wasn't even a big deal in the grand scheme of things. But it just so happened, that thing was the last thing in a long line of negative events and stressors in his day. And that just caused him to snap harshly at the smallest thing. We're talking blue collar work here, carpentry. So it wasn't like just a little snide little negative, remark in the office or something. There was like a big shove, what the hell are you doing, Daniel? What's your problem? Yada, yada, yada. It was not fun. And I wouldn't get into it with him. I would just say, okay, understood, get back to work. I'd take the criticism, internalize it a bit, and continue working with an extremely diminished morale. But, the difference in this situation is that he would do something typically that's really uncommon. After a spat like that, he would almost always come back around, after he had de-escalated a bit, walk up to me and just be like, hey man, you didn't deserve that earlier today. You're doing a really good job around here. Just wanted to tell you that. But, I've got like 3 projects behind schedule. The customers are hounding me and the owner's on my case. So, I'm sorry. I'm a bit stressed out. And I went off on you. Yeah. I haven't worked for very many people like that. And it's inspiring. It generates a ton of goodwill. And how do you describe a person like that, an encounter like that? Do you say they have moral fiber? Maybe, it takes a heck of a lot of humility to do that. Maybe you call it kind, empathetic. I'm not exactly sure how to sum up those character traits in a few words. But what I can tell you with certainty is that those actions like that, are the benchmark of having done a whole lot of inner work, introspection. That's the only thing that allows you to confidently, not sheepishly, confidently come out of yourself and consider the perspective and experiences of somebody else. And I would definitely love to see more of that in our politicians, instead of just trying to put the best foot forward, and always trying to be right. And maybe Donald Trump, who was not a politician, should I say, has showed us like the epitome of what politics can become. But this is a quality that I expect from all the voices that I allow to speak into my life. This ability to look at things from other perspectives, shift the situation around 180 and say, okay, this is the person I oppose, but how do they feel in this situation? What makes them act this way? What sorts of things have influenced what they believe and how they act? That's what I expect from the voices that I allow to speak into my life. Voices that have done their inner work. Because I'm just done with all this blind polarity and all these divisive messages. Give me those people that have done their work. Done the work enough that they can show us better how to move forward, because they've gone down the path far enough ahead. People that can pull us past our primal rage and through our trauma-based responses. All right. So I have a couple of people that have spoken into my life with their work, whose voices I want to share with you today. That's kind of the whole point to this episode. I have a few good things I want to share with you that engage difficult societal conversations around racism with introspection and invitation, rather than from this place of outrage and polarization. So I got two segments for you. The first is a man named Michael Acuna. If you listen to the last episode, this name's going to sound familiar to you. He's the man I interviewed last time, and he's the man with the plan of bringing police officers and communities together in one room and engaging them over their shared humanity. Yeah, that's a guy I want to know, and that's a guy that I'm proud to know of, and I was happy to get to introduce you to him as well. But that's what he does by day. Now, by night, he's a hip-hop artist. And this is one of the ways he recharges his batteries, blows off a little steam. And he performs under the names Acuna Black and Ill7. So, I'm going to share one of his tracks with you. This one's called No More. And one of the lines he says in here goes like this. He says, "They don't make them like this no more. Never made them like this before. And they never really did." And, before I play this song for you, I just want to dedicate that line to him, because the work that he's doing, he's cut from a fabric that is surely not mass-produced in our society.
Let's go. They don't make them like us no more. Never made them like us before. Yeah, you dealing with the real hardcore. Yeah, you dealing with the real hardcore. They don't make them like us no more. Nah, cause they never really did. How we live in this world of lies. Everybody in the skies, looking at the friendly skies, living in denial, judgment in the heart. Everyone's on trial, trying to live a little. We just made it past the riddle, eat us up like kibble while we trying to be the noble keeper, hoping that the spirit guides might seek ya, asking for a preacher, calling for a teacher, knowing that the systematic traps might eat ya, knowing how to live a life, maybe have to sacrifice. Jesus lived a humble life, Buddha did too. I'm just trying to be a man of a little virtue. I'm just trying to be a man of a little virtue. They don't make them like us no more. Never made them like us before. Yeah, you dealing with the real hardcore. Yeah, you dealing with the real hardcore. They don't make them like us no more. No, cause they never really did. Let's go. They don't make them like us no more. Never made them like us before. Yeah, you dealing with the real hardcore. Yeah, you dealing with the real hardcore. They don't make them like us no more. Nah, cause they never really did. Yeah. Open up and let it go, elevate the mental, spiritual insight, not fundamental. Breathing life in the lungs, speaking to the future. Have new light, let life pursue ya. Forward to our next spot, reaching in the past. We ancient like the pharaoh, you can see it in the math. I'm talking about the ciphers, circle of life. We made it out our necks, now call that good life. They don't make them like us no more, never made them like us before. Yeah, you dealing with the real hardcore. Yeah, you dealing with the real hardcore. They don't make them like us no more.
There you go, Il7, No More. Clearly Michael Acuna is a man of many talents, and I didn't have time to work that song into the last show like I wanted to, so I just wanted to take a minute and share that with you. Okay, so next up, we have another man who tackles a lot of heavy topics in his work. And this is Dale Fredrickson. And Dale's been on the show before. He's a fantastic spoken word poet. And what I have for you right now is a throwback to one of his poems that I aired on the show about a year ago. It's a great piece. It's artful. It's introspective. And it just deals with all these issues of racism, justice, just the confusion that our society is going through right now. It just seemed like the right thing to air in this particular moment. The poem is called White Apathy. And after the poem, you're going to hear the conversation I had with Dale about this poem when he was on the podcast a year ago. All right. So buckle your seatbelts for this one. It's intense.
The news flickers, colors clash. An officer pulls the trigger. Another black life lost. In a blur of pixels, in a whir of missteps, I watch, dry eye. The recurrence deafening. Under red skies, apathetic, I sleep. Why is this suffering? This misery of race, harrowing to face. Middle passage leg irons, the lash of a leather whip on flesh, curses on buses and restaurants, skeletons rattling, clamoring, battling from unnamed graves. Power and pigmentation, a story forged by lies, racial classifications. I'm deaf to the sorrows of difference. A mother cries and the earth rumbles. A father sighs and the sky thunders. Ancestry of violence. And I can't hear. Callousness traced through my family history. Murder and ignorance pulsing through my white skin. Could I hear and feel if I powered off my screens, became powerless, and listened?
Today I want to tell the city of Selma. Tell them, Doctor. Today I want to say to the state of Alabama. Yes, sir. Today I want to say to the people of America and the nations of the world that we are not about to turn around. Yes, sir. We are on the move now. Yes, sir. Yes, we are on the move, and no wave of racism can stop us. Yes, sir. And the burning of our churches will not deter us. Yes, sir. The bombing of our homes will not dissuade us. Yes, sir. The beating and killing of our clergymen and young people will not divert us. Yes, sir. The wanton release of their known murderers will not discourage us. We're on the move now. Yes, sir. Like an idea whose time has come. Yes, sir. Not even the marching of mighty armies can halt us. Yes, sir. We're moving to the land of freedom. Yes, sir. I know you're asking today, how long will it take? Somebody's asking, how long will prejudice blind the visions of men? I come to say to you this afternoon, however difficult the moment, yes, sir, however frustrating the hour, it will not be long, because truth crushed earth will rise again. Yes, sir. How long? Not long. Yes, sir. Because no lie can live forever. Yes, sir. How long? Not long. How long? Because you shall reap what you sow. Yes, sir. How long? Not long. How long? Truth forever on the scaffold, wrong forever on the throne. Yes, sir. Yet that scaffold sways the future. Yes. Behind the dim unknown standeth God within the shadow, keeping watch above his own. How long? Not long. Because the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. Yes, how long? Not long. Not long. Because mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. Yes, he's trampling out the village where the grapes of wrath are stored. Yes, sir. He's loosed the fateful lightning of his terrible swift sword. Yes, his truth is marching on. Yes, sir. He has sounded forth the trumpet that shall never call retreat. He is sifting out the hearts of men before his judgment seat. Oh, be swift, my soul, to answer him. Be jubilant, my feet. Our God is marching on. Glory, hallelujah. Glory, hallelujah.
Oh, so good. It's cathartic for me to say that that's good.
That's good, man. Tell me why for you.
So often when I see like these social justice things, it's just so external, like outside the self, you know, and it's just so like walled off. And
that's
so,
amazing. You say
like,
that.
Categorized out, you know, us and them. And
right.
I'm just like, you know what? Yeah, there's a lot of good in that. Your poem.
That's good.
You're just saying something right.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, I'm totally like influenced by the spoken word, like, and you're right. Most of it is that. Most of it's the same cadence. Most of it's like one dimensional in that. And I wanted to, so this is my most spoken word, gonna raise a social justice issue and like, you know, give my voice on it. But I still tried to keep the first person, and the first person, like really like, and it came from a sincere place. Like, I can't tell you at this season of life, I had seen so many officers shoot innocent young black men that I was like, I literally have to turn off the TV. And I like felt like, oh my gosh, I don't want to grow callous. I don't want to grow apathetic. That's not the type of man I want to be. And so I literally wrote this to like feel again. And like, I could feel that like shiver on my, you know, that shiver down my spine of like, that's right. Like that feels right. Write this story of like whiteness and what it means to like, that we all as human hearts tend to be apathetic to the suffering and pain of others, especially when it's so systematic like that and big. And so I was like wanting to just tell that story. And that's kind of where that came from.
I just love that line. I watched Dry-Eyed, you know?
Thank you.
Yeah. That's about you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
like,
right.
Something's going on in here in me that's not right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like somebody got shot, you know, regardless of the circumstances. Like, why am I watching this and not crying? You know?
Yeah, that's right. That's good. Thank
that.
you. Thank you. The best story about this poem is the next track is The Cries That We Cannot Hear. And I actually conceived it as one poem where I have a good friend named Lewis Brown, who's like a rap hip hop artist in Denver named Proxy. And I asked him I wanted him to rap on this album, and I wanted it to be like my sort of like cathartic, and then him like kind of rapping about what every white person really needs to know about the pain of racial race relations and what it means. And instead, he picked a clip from Martin Luther King Jr.'s Selma speech. And then if you hear in the background, if you go on and listen to the next track, you can hear him like literally humming this almost gospel releasing hum to this, like, underneath this Martin Luther King, this very hopeful, like bright King quote that like we're marching on. I mean, it's like one of the most like Christian theological pieces that's so gorgeous in what King, like, it just invites us to expand our hearts to this big, huge world where good is coming. You feel King's hope and the hope of the whole civil rights movement in it. So it was funny because I was like, hey, I want you to rap on this album. He's like, yeah, I want you to like find like the 3 things you need to like say to every white person. And he like paused right there and he was like, are there only 3, Dale? Really? There are only 3. And I was like, oh man, thank you for teaching me yet again of how much I don't know. And so the comeback to him to play this King quote. And then of course we had to write a letter and get permission to use the King Selma speech on there. So anyway, it was great. Yeah, man, that's white apathy.
Thanks for having my conversation. Well, that's all I got for you this time. I hope you enjoyed it. I will be right back here in 2 weeks. And if you're not already connected with the show on Facebook and Instagram, at The Grounded Presence on both of those platforms. And we're still wading our way through this community thing. Lots more to explore. And next episode, I've got something that I think you're really gonna enjoy. If I can pull it off, well, we'll see. But for now, stay safe, stay grounded, and stay sane.